Good afternoon, uh, good morning to some of you, good evening, good day. Welcome to SKTV. Welcome and welcome. Welcome to Friday, as you're already aware. It's Give me a second, please. Sorry about that. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. Today we have an exciting topic or conversation. Jack and T will be joining me very shortly. Let's make some disclaimer. Let's get to the conversation really quick. Um, I want to do this as fast as possible. Today, we are going to be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Very important for you to listen, to tune in. I'll be making some announcements right after the show because there will be change in time. We'll be having some change in time. Dagonti is already here in the back. I'm very late. It's my fault. I know she has to go. Very late. But let me make this quick disclaimer and announcements really quick. Today we will not have musical break. Rather, we have a video to play for you to listen as the introduction. Invite someone. Let's share the show while you are here. Let's share the show. Let's invite someone. Welcome and welcome and welcome. Today we're talking mental health and wellness. Very important for you to tune in. Very important for you to tune in. I'm here with Jackie. Let me make the disclaimer quick, as we'll say in Liberia. Let's make the disclaimer quick. Everything we say here today is meant for educational purposes. It's not for therapy. If you need to seek help, please feel free to contact one of us and we'll be able to point you in the right direction to get the help you need. Secondly, if you call on the show or if you say anything on the show, you'll be held liable and responsible for what you say, not us. Lastly, we cannot guarantee any confidentiality here because we're in a public, this is public forum, and so nothing is guaranteed here in terms of your privacy or confidentiality. So any information you give out here, just note that there will be other people that would hear it or that will be aware. Today we want to start off, like I said, on a very important subject. Let me bring Dagonti in really quick. We have no time to waste so that she can greet you guys. We'll get started, we'll play the video, we'll share the show, and we move. Let me bring Dagonti really quickly. How are you, sister? It's been my fault. I already took the full responsibility. I already told them. But it's up to you. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good. Hello, Facebook land. Hello, family. Hello, friends. I just smiling because when I'm ready to find you. I know. I just smiling.
I know. I know. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. It's me, and I take full responsibility here. Again, it's me, full responsibility. But let's try to get onto the conversation really quick. We have a video to play as part of our introduction. Today, unfortunately, we'll not be playing music, but we will be playing. We'll be playing a video. We'd like for you to please pay attention to this video. It's important. It will introduce the conversation. It would also inform you about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It will give you the basics that you need to know. Let me get this uploaded here quick. While this is up, no. We don't want this yet. Not yet. We'll get to that. We'll touch over it briefly, but let's get to the video to lay the premise for this conversation. Please help us share the show while you are watching this video as we are sharing as well. Thank you.
One of the most legendary ideas in the history of psychology is located in an unassuming triangle divided into 5 sections referred to universally simply as Maslow's pyramid of needs. This profoundly influential pyramid first saw the world in an academic journal in the United States in 1943, where it was crudely drawn in black and white and surrounded by dense and jargon-rich text. It has since become a mainstay of psychological analyses, business presentations, and TED Talks, and grown ever more colourful and emphatic in the process. The pyramid was the work of a 35-year-old Jewish psychologist of Russian origins called Abraham Maslow, who'd been looking since the start of his professional career for nothing less than the meaning of life. No longer part of the close-knit orthodox family of his youth, Maslow wanted to find out what could make life purposeful for people, himself included, in modern-day America, a country where the pursuit of money and fame seemed to have eclipsed any more interior or authentic aspirations. He saw psychology as the discipline that would enable him to answer the yearnings and questions that people had once taken to religion. He suddenly saw that human beings could be said to have essentially 5 different kinds of need. On the one hand, the psychological, or what one could term, without any mysticism being meant by the word, the spiritual, and on the other, the material. For Maslow, we all start with a set of utterly non-negotiable and basic physiological needs for food, water, warmth, and rest. In addition, we have urgent safety needs for bodily security and protection from attack. But then we start to enter the spiritual domain. We need belongingness and love. We need friends and lovers. We need esteem and respect. And lastly, and most grandly, we are driven by what Maslow called, in a now legendary term, an urge for self-actualization, a vast, touchingly nebulous, and yet hugely apt concept involving what Maslow described as living according to one's full potential and becoming who we really are. Part of the reason why the description of these needs, laid out in pyramid form, has proved so persuasive is their capacity to capture a profound structural truth about human existence. Maslow was putting his finger with unusual deftness and precision on a set of answers to very large questions that tend to confuse and perplex us viciously, particularly when we're young. Namely, what are we really after? What do we long for? And how do we arrange our priorities and give due regard for the different and competing claims we have on our attention? Maslow was reminding us with artistic concision of the shape of an ideal, well-lived life, proposing at once that we cannot live by our spiritual callings alone, but also that it cannot be right to remain focused only on the material either. We need, in order to be whole, both the material and the spiritual realms to be attended to, the base lending support while the summit offers upward direction and definition. Maslow was rebutting calls from 2 kinds of zealots. Firstly, over-ardent spiritual types who might urge us to forget entirely about money, housing, a good insurance policy, and enough to pay for lunch. But he was also fighting against extreme, hard-nosed pragmatists who might imply that life was simply a brute process of putting food on the table and going to the office. Both camps had, for Maslow, misunderstood the complexity of the human animal. Unlike other creatures, we truly are multifaceted, called at once to unfurl our soul according to its inner destiny, and to make sure we'll be able to pay the bills at the end of the month. Operating at the heyday of American capitalism, Maslow was interestingly ambivalent about business. He was awed by the material resources of large corporations around him, but at the same time he lamented that almost all their economic activity was, unfairly and bizarrely, focused on honouring customers' needs at the bottom of his pyramid. America's largest companies were helping people to have a roof over their heads, feeding them, moving them around, and ensuring they could talk to each other long distance. But they seemed utterly uninterested in trying to fulfill the essential spiritual appetites defined on the higher slopes of his pyramid. Towards the end of his long life, Maslow expressed a hope that businesses could, in time, learn to make more of their profits from addressing not only our basic needs, but also, and as importantly, our higher spiritual and psychological ones as well. That would be truly enlightened capitalism. In the personal sphere, Maslow's pyramid remains a hugely useful object to turn to whenever we're trying to assess the direction of our lives. Often, as we reflect upon it, we start to notice that we really haven't arranged and balanced our needs as wisely and elegantly as we might. Some lives have got an implausibly wide base. All the energy seems directed towards material accumulation. At the same time, there are lives with an opposite problem, where we've not paid due heed to our need to look after our fragile and vulnerable bodies. Maslow's beautifully simple visual cue is, above anything else, a portrait of a life lived in harmony with the complexities of our nature. We should, at our less frantic moments, use it to reflect with newfound focus on what it is we might do next.
Our decision dice are a tool to help you make wiser decisions in work, love, and the rest of your life.
Well, thank you for following us. Thank you. Today, as you are aware, we have Tekanti here with us. A lot of things to talk about. We'll run through them here really, really quick. As you can see our topic on there. And I'd like to start a conversation first by welcoming Tekanti back and taking responsibility for the breakdown for the past few weeks. It's been very, very busy. To be quite frank, it has been busy. Our schedule has been all over the place. But we're glad to be here. We just listened to a video about Maslow hierarchy of needs. So today I wanted to start the conversation with just being generic, or just asking you, first of all, what does that mean? What does this whole thing mean? Why are we talking about this? How does it relate to us?
Which one now? The generic or the hierarchy of needs?
The hierarchy of needs. Okay. What does it mean?
Okay. So I like how the video editors, or those who constructed that video, I like how they ended it with saying this hierarchy of needs that was done by Maslow, right? Literally is a roadmap or a blueprint to live a harmonious life. So to have harmony from one stage to the next, from one stage to the next of your life. That literally is what this hierarchy of needs means. And it shows how when one stage is mastered or developed in a healthy way, can lead to the next, can lead to the next, can lead to the next. Because we know human life, you only grow up, you never grow down, right?
Right.
So as you grow up and go through your human existence, all the experiences we will have can be fit, or can fit in those boxes. So from the time you're born till the time you exit this stage of life, one way or the other, you are supposed to, let me go back now and say, you are supposed to, if you live a rich, full, healthy life. When I say rich, I'm not meaning like monetary, but if you live a well-rounded life, you are supposed to move through those stages at some point in your development.
So it was interesting how he talked about how the person in the video, just before we get into the nitty-gritty of this, how the person in the video talked about the spiritual life and the physical life. What would you say about that in relations to those who might be religious, might not believe in physical things, but they're just mostly restricted or confined to spirituality? What would you say?
So how I will explain that is, and I work with a lot of clients who come with those beliefs, right? Sometimes we need a source of inspiration that is outside of ourselves or sometimes within ourselves, right? Because some people look at spirituality as I cannot disconnect who I am from what's within me or my creator or my source, right? My source power, right?
Hmm.
And so what he's talking about, the spiritual side of things is, if your needs are met in the spiritual side, where do you gain your source of inspiration from to get through life experiences, right? How do you use your spirituality to guide your principles of those morals, those values that you stand on, right? How do you use your spirituality to separate the self from the ego, so to speak? Because the ego only looking at what I can get, my own needs, right? How to look at it as far as I can look outside of myself, there are others around me who I can extend this thing to. So that's part of that spirituality in some sense for people. Spirituality can come in a sense of community sometimes, not necessarily that we gather to seek this higher power together, but that we gather to pull into our collective strengths and say, how can we as a community respond to these different needs? How can we as a community build ourselves up? So spirituality is so broad. It's so broad for people. It depends on how you define it.
So, so then I want to go into this question, wherein I would ask you, how does this Maslow hierarchy of need benefit maybe the people back in Africa that might not understand all the BB things we're talking, all of these
Hmm. Hmm.
theoretical words that we're using?
Hmm.
How does it benefit? How can it relate to these things? What would you say?
Well, every day, people in Africa, we find that there are many spiritual paths, right? But the three that are, um, how would I say, the three that are publicized, let me just put it that way, right? It's Christianity, it's Islam, and then there is our indigenous African traditions, okay? So those are the three that's publicized, right, that we know about, that is national and domesticated, okay? So for those living in Africa, when I mean domesticated, that means like where you are, the environment, what you believe in, what you know, what are the rules, what are not the rules. So that's that domestication, okay? I will try to break these BB words and down so sometimes people understand it too. So how this connects and how does this serve Africans or those living in Africa, specifically Liberia, in any way?
Hmm.
One way or the other, you have a, if you want to call it religious, you have a religious affiliation. So a certain religion that you identify with. You have a spiritual affiliation, a spirituality that you identify with, okay? And going back to what I said about the purpose of this spirituality and religion in our lives is right, is to, when you look outside of the commercial part of it, that is the church makes money, the mosque makes money, or religious people, construct, there's money there to be made. You look outside and you look for what it was supposed to be, a place where people find a source of inspiration, connection, meaning that is bigger than themselves. People find a sense of even identity in who I am, okay? So people in Africa right now, whether you believe whichever religious or spiritual background you believe in, every African person, man, woman, child, wants to feel like they belong, wants to feel recognized, want to feel safe, want to feel heard, want to feel like what they bring in our society matters, okay? One way or the other. They want to feel like that place they are recognizes them. So the Maslow hierarchy of needs is telling you exactly every experience you will have in your human life can be talked about in these forms right here. Can be talked about when you reach this stage, and when it's when your community supports you, when your religion supports you, or your religious community supports you, when your academic community support your academic, that your school, right, or your professional life, when your work family supports you, what each stage looks like for you. And that when you get to the end of, when you get, or to the highest this pillar, right, when you get to the highest of it, when you look back, you don't live with life of regret. You don't live with life of, oh, hey, all the bad things are happening to me. Instead, you live a life of gratitude, that you are happy, you feel content, you feel full, you feel happy that when you leave, exit the stage, that you left a mark on this world, that your children will be okay, that the community you come from, the kind of work you put in, or the kind of support your community get each other, that long after you're gone, there will be new heroes that come. If the community provides the nurturing, if the community provides those psychological needs, those safety needs for the person that live in it. That's what this whole thing boiled down to.
Okay. So that means, in other words, culture, society, religion, um, family, friends, loved ones,
Everything.
all of them have a part to play in this. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So does that
Every
mean
string. Go
does
ahead.
does that mean if one part is not functioning, normally we say from a clinical standpoint, we say holistically, if one part is not functioning, let's say someone has a social disconnect, or the person does not, let's say somebody does not have a support system. Somebody doesn't have a support system. How does that impact that person from the
So,
Maslow hierarchy of needs? How does that impact them? Lack of social or support system.
so what happened is, I'm trying to find a good analogy I can use here. Let me see. Um, the car, right? And a car uses 4 tires. Sometimes the bigger cars use more tires, right?
Mm-hmm.
The car is structured in a sense to where those 4 tires are strategically positioned. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the fifth part of this part of this body is the body that carries the human being in it, the car body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if the windshield is broken, for example, you can still manage, you can still be going with the car. If the AC is not working, you can still manage, you can still be going with the car, right? If the what else can be, the rear view mirror not working, you can still manage, you will go. But if one tire is taking off, that tire bust, for you to go with that car, it will become difficult. And other things that will start to happen, in accident, then the car will start to, parts of the running on one side and damaging, well, the car can't even move. But the damage that you're causing when you're trying to force the thing that are not supposed to go in this order creates other ripple effects that are not good.
Okay. Creates other ripple effects that are not good. So, in other words, the tire in this context would be more likely the support system.
Yep. Yep.
Because if we look at it for truth, all of the weight of the car or so forth is relying on the tire.
Carried by those.
Sometimes we don't respect the tires in the car, but
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
actuality, that's why when your tires start having problem, when you look on the dashboard, it shows that death sign or whatever it is upside down. Okay, that makes sense. So support system is critically important in this
Mm-hmm.
entire process.
Yes.
That means, in other words, you can't have the children going to the babysitter and be making plan of the babysitter and cost the babysitter.
When that tire move from under you, work will move from under you.
Exactly.
Your horse will move from under you.
Right. And more likely so, especially in America or other places, other developed countries, when you don't have someone to take care of the children and you got to go to work, the parent will step in and take the children away from you if you leave them by themselves, especially if they're
I'm talking about that ripple effect.
Wow.
One thing start bouncing on the other.
Also, that could impact your job, because now you got to juggle between your job and the children. It's either you want to take care of your children and you can't go to work. And if you can't go to work, then maybe you can't pay the bills. And if you can't pay the bills, then you become homeless. Then at the end of the day, so support system is critically important.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to pull this up. I will go to the 4th page, even though this is not what we're discussing today. But just, I know everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see it, or it's too little for you, Deputy.
I can see it. No, I can. Not only can I see, I have my own notes on this. I already created notes for myself.
Okay, great. Since you've already created notes,
The only thing I want you to do when I'm talking, when you're using that what you call it right there, I just want you to be pointing. Do you have a pointer to point people where you are, or to just tell them what I'm talking about?
let me see something. Okay. Let me
Okay.
play with this. No, that's me.
Yeah, if you have a pointer, then when I'm talking, they can see. But if not, that's okay. We'll tell them colors. We'll color code for them. We can tell them colors. That's okay.
Okay, let's bring us back and let's bring this.
Yeah, let's just do colors.
So yeah, we'll do the color. We'll do the color because they can see the color. They can see the colors. Okay, very good. Since we are going to do the colors, or since we're sticking with the colors, then I'd like to pull up my notes, because that's where I will ask you questions from, so that we can stay focused on this for today. At least it can be our talking point and so forth. So there are 5 steps or 5 stages here on this dashboard that other people are seeing. There are 5 of them. So the first one, now, just before we get into the first one, is it possible to alter, in other words, to change these stages, such as, is it possible for us to start from the top and go to the bottom, or should we start from the bottom and go to the top, or can we start from the middle? How does it work?
The day you find somebody that built a house from the roof and came down without any structure put in place, call me. I won't can see it for myself. I just want to see something.
So you're basically saying it's practically impossible to start from the middle or start from the top, because then you'll be stuck or something will happen?
That the definition of nobody's stupid here. Because it can't happen.
Okay, that makes sense. So it can't happen.
Without a structure, without a foundation. What are you putting a roof on?
So that means we must go in this order in order to achieve what we want to achieve.
And not only must we go in order, but you will see that the first 4 stages will be it will go around in that cycle for a while. You will have to go through those 4 stages and master them for a long time in different developmental stages. And you know, the funny thing, what I actually did with my notes is I went to, you've talked about Erik Erikson stages, right?
Yeah.
You've talked about it, but what I did further with my notes, and I hope maybe if it can be shared today, that's fine. There will be other opportunities for that. Yes. I went back to reference those stages of development, right? And come back to the very hierarchy of needs to show you at which stage in your life that you may bother with one of these stages in your life. So you will kind of see that at the core of your development, you will go through those 4 stages over and again, over and again, over and again. Then when you reach the top now, you will be sitting pretty.
Okay. So then I want to play around with this really quick before we get into each of them, to just kind of touch on them, because we'll spend time on them one at a time, just to our viewers and our listeners. But today, for the sake of the conversation, I want to introduce this to you. I want to play with this a little bit, and let's see how it works. Take, for example, I've seen people who want to show self-esteem. For example, self-esteem is the green color, or I'm not sure on your
self-esteem is blue and not green.
It's blue. On my end is green. Sorry,
that's the way your glasses.
It's blue. Self-esteem is blue. Now, I want you to look at self-esteem. Some people want to skip the physiological need, which is the purple one from the very bottom. They want to skip it and just go to self-esteem in public. In other words, in public, they dress fine, they act fine, they present fine, but maybe they don't have a place they're living, or they're evicted, or they're sleeping on people's couch. What do you say about that? About skipping that step and jumping to the other step? You come among people, you act a certain way, you live a certain way, you project to be a certain way, but you have not met the basics. What happens in their life? What do you say about these people?
I will use a lot of analogies here today so our people can understand things. I am a visual learner. I learn by seeing, I learn by demonstration, okay? And I learn by visual, what's it called, the one where you mix the words with something for somebody to grasp in their mind. I know you know the other stage. So the example is to say you're going and pick food to eat, right?
Mhm.
If there was no seed planted, where the food came from? So how would you get to the bigger girls, bigger boys stage, right? When you did not, when the foundation, the seeds were not planted.
Hmm.
Because I dress fine, I look good, yet I have terrible relationships with others. I did not build love and belonging. I know nothing about securing my own safety need, but just because I want dress fine, I can sleep anywhere. I don't care if that place is an unsafe place to be, but tonight I need to lay my head. And you get what I'm saying?
Right.
Just because I want dress fine, let me tell you something, food not important. I'm feeding my body. Also, I gotta look good, doctor. So how can you get to that blue stage when you planted no seeds in the yellow, you planted no seeds in the green, you planted no seeds in the purple. So each stage of harvesting farming, those of you who know about farming, right? There are stages to this. So the purple level is what I call when a farmer come outside, the farmer massaging the soil, you tilling the soil, you turning it over, and you get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You're making sure this soil is ready, you're getting ready for planting. So if you're not doing nothing like that, you just want to go, you enter blue. You will find that you will always go in a traumatic cycle because all the other needs, you didn't know how to meet them. You will not last place living long because you and people will always get inside it. You get what I'm saying? Because you have not mastered how to have intimate, and when we say intimate, and I gotta be boyfriend girlfriend business, it means your interpersonal relationships with people, friendships, workmanship. People like that, you can see they can last long to a job. Oh, they get a new job because they have not mastered those foundations. Does it make sense?
Yes. Let me add.
Okay.
Let me add something there to make this more relatable to some extent. For example, because you see someone at the party, at the event, at the cookout, at the club, or somewhere, or just in the community or whatever, and they're looking flashy and everything it is, or whatever. Now you're moving together. After 1 or 2 months, you'll start to have problem because that person is taking the money and taking the house rent, taking the mortgage and other things. When you give it to them, you entrusted them with it.
Mm-hmm.
They start to use it on dressing or other
Mm-hmm.
things because they think they got to maintain that part of life, that self-esteem part of life. But they forget about the priority, which is the basic, that you must have a place to live. So they start to exhibit something we call irresponsibility. They become very irresponsible.
And they even put their own selves at danger, that safety need. They don't even know now about safety. They even the crack house, they will lay there
Hmm.
because a jam now this time I get place to go. They will put themselves with crowds that are unsafe to be around. But just because you meet the need for me to lay my head in your space, right? Because I only focusing on the outside of this body, what I put on top of it, or prestige. And to be labeled a bigger boys, bigger girls in the community.
Right. Okay. So it also has the ability to impact the yellow one. Because think about it. People want to fall in love. They want sense of belonging, they want to have children. But if you don't have the foundation to be responsible, even when you have the children, you will not take care of them. You know,
Yes.
when I first came to America, I had an older man who told me this. Who said who said this to me? He said, listen, he said, "This America, you came in there, a lot of opportunities, young man.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to show you something while you're in America." He said, I've been here for over 30 years. I came here very young, younger than you. He said, but one of the things that I learned later on, as old as I am now, that's why you see me having to work, is because I didn't set my priorities right.
Mm.
I thought I was a cute young man, was bouncing around from state to state. I didn't put some things into perspective. So I reached this age now, I have to make up so that I don't become homeless. He said up to the point that child support kicked in because I was very irresponsible. I didn't want to take care of my responsibility. I thought if I moved from one state to another and be this young man, he said, so young man, I don't want you to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
He said to me, set your priorities, work on them, and you achieve some goals.
Mm-hmm.
You might not achieve everything, but set your priorities right. So I'm trying to say this, that even when you get to the stage wherein, because you didn't have the foundation, you didn't lay the foundation.
Yeah, sorry. sorry. Sorry, I just had to laugh, my brother. Let me just tell you too. My brother said, I'm doing this show, I'm going to go buy a ticket for the $1 billion lottery.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
sorry. Anyway.
So even to those who are religious, those who are social, these are fundamental things that even when you are intending to get into a relationship, you should think about and consider. It can be about the cute and the love, because the truth of the matter is, even in your relationship, you don't eat cute, you don't eat love. It doesn't pay the rent. It doesn't pay the bill. You want to think about some of these major factors because they're basic things. Even when you are thinking about having children, I've always said to women, pregnancy is not an airborne disease. You don't look in the sky and get pregnant. So when you're choosing to get pregnant for a man, be conscious about those facts. If you notice that this guy is not serious, he's not responsible, having a children or a child for him will not make him responsible. It doesn't. That's not how it works. But let's move into them one at a time. Let's try to talk about the physiological needs.
Okay.
What would you say about this stage?
So if you allow me,
Please.
I don't know. You talk about it because when I come back to reference it, I told you I made my notes in a way that I want to explain it. So I don't know, would you want me to use how I got it, or you want to just talk about this stage first, all of it?
No, let's essentially next week we're full in on physiological stage next week.
Okay.
Today we are just pinpointing
Running through it.
We're just running through them.
Okay.
Just to introduce it as we
So
go.
this physiological needs will always be there through all your stages of development. Okay. In a sense that you have a biological need to drink water, to eat food. You also have a biological need to rest your body, to excrete waste from in you, to use the bathroom. Those are biological needs, right? You also have a now to come to the physiological. You have a physiological need to have a warm, to live, to be in a place that has warmth, right? That your body temperature is regulated, okay? At the basic, even if and I'm not endorsing this, but I'm saying, and this happens to many people, but even if you find yourself in a place that you're in a position in life that when you're homeless, you get what I'm saying? The physiological needs will trump being in a place. So you still need food when you're homeless. You still need water to drink when you're homeless. So no matter what stage of this, what you call it, this pyramid that you find yourself, here you go. Your basic needs must always be something that is taken care of.
Okay, and just to add up to what you're saying, in a nutshell, one of the things I've always said, I will relate this to Liberia. One of our major problems in Liberia is not that Liberians are not smart. It's not that Liberians are not productive. They're not good people. But their physiological need has never been addressed since our foundation. It has never been addressed. And if anyone wants to argue it, then you wouldn't have people standing in line on July 26th for an Indian man to get them food.
Yeah.
Because now let me tell you, in other developing words, that most people physiological needs are met. So because it is met, you can go to the next stage of life. I give you a typical example. When you open your fridge in America, you have options. So you see, so food business in America is not our primary focus.
Yeah.
That is not your primary focus.
Yeah.
Everywhere you
Or
turn,
if you're not getting your S bar, you know where to go to get it.
you know where to go to get it. Or even if you don't know where to go to get it, when you ask questions, somebody will point you where to go to get it. So you see, so these basic things, when they're met, most of you during the pandemic, what was happening? What was happening? The children at the school, what they were doing, they had a food card.
Card that they send home. Yeah.
Your children have options. They can eat breakfast at home when they
And
go
you
to
know
school.
why? You know why they did that? You know why that is done?
No.
To explain it for those in Liberia to understand that your full money that the government, let me explain to you how it was used here. We understand how food and nutrition goes with human brain and development. Okay. So the school system knows the importance. That why some of the school, you see a lot of them implemented the free lunch. And I think my daughter told me after Corona, everybody, regardless of your family get money, they not get money, they just implemented the free lunch program, okay? Just to cover all parts. But what studies have shown, right, is that nutrition and diet impacts the chemical and the brain makeup over time. So the school system made it a point that the children, we will make sure we have food for them when they're here for the 8 hours, because some children go home to no food. Some children go home to places where there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of other things going on. So imagine the children that were home the whole time. If your parents not working, where the food coming from? If people had to stay home, and you get what I'm saying? How was income being earned for parents to get food? So what they did as a whole, the school systems around the country said, you know what? There is money allotted to the lunch program across the nation. We will send this money home during this time of national disaster or national, I don't know how you will call it, pandemic. That's exactly what it was, right?
Right.
That regardless if your pa get money, your pa not get money, your man working, your man not working, they will give you food so that your basic needs are met. They can get water, okay? Now, to bring this into the Liberian context, what was intended to make sure that this physiological need is met? Our people who never actualized the first 3 levels, who only worry about that 4th level, the blue level, right? The bigger boys, bigger prestige image. They took all your money to go make yourself prestige and image. This money or these resources was meant to be allocated so that the least child don't go without food during this pandemic time, that they don't go without water during this pandemic time. So that's how it relates to Liberia. When we talk and we keep talking, these are some of the things, that ripple effect we talk about. So we got people in our so-called places of government politics, or whatever you want to call it, who all the first 3 level here, kind of miss it. So they're on the 4th now, like you said, they're only concerned about image on the outside, community, to the point that they will impose it on you. They will take from you because their image, they need to keep it. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, and to the point also, the way I know for a fact that we cannot move to the next stage of life, so we have not grown, is also Tana, they were still talking about hand pump. People might still be contributing to go and buy hand pump. No light. We're still talking about light. To even get food to eat, place to sleep, even clothes. Things like clothes. People do all kind of things just to get feel wear or to dress nicely. You know, it's not like that on this side. It's surplus on this side. So that tells you once those stages are, that first stage is met, you have a foundation you can build on to move to the next stage, which is the next one on the screen, which is the safety needs. Yes, which is what do you say about the safety need, the security?
Okay, so safety and security comes in 2 forms, okay? There is physical, well, in more than 2 forms. There's physical safety. That means that the house you in, it got doors, right? It got windows, and raccoon can just jump from outside that window and come inside the house because my house has those safety needs, right? It get ceiling, It get roof. Let me just call it that way because plenty of Liberians know about roof. It get roof in it. And then there's also, that's the physical safety, right? There's emotional safety. The emotional safety to that is, are you in a house causing your children all the time, calling them down, making them feel bad about themselves? And you get what I'm saying? There's psychological safety. Are you making them feel safe by your words you use, by your actions in the house? So homes where children in develop or are around a lot of domestic violence, so to speak, this safety need right here that we see on the screen becomes impacted because they don't trust now that the adults around them will keep them safe from place where hala hala air, from gun shooting, from running from bullets. And you get what I'm saying? So because I'm tying it into the Liberian experience, that's why I'm bringing the other parts here too.
Okay. So just to add up, before we move to the next stage, to put this into context, many people in the US and other places in Europe get mad and say, oh, why did Liberian people can't stand up for themselves or whatever it is? Well, you can't focus on safety when you're hungry because we are programmed naturally to want to meet those basic needs first. So let's say, for example, somebody life feels threatened or they just came from causing some kind of serious trauma to your family or whatever it is. Somebody comes and give you small money where you're supposed to be pushing for your case to ensure safety and security. You revert to the physiological need and take the bribe because you need to survive.
You need to survive.
You're not focused on safety at that point.
Yep, that your basic needs, that's why they call it basic needs.
Your basic needs are not been met. So you can't think about the other step. So for you, safety is not important. For you, security is not important. What's important is what you will eat now. What you will benefit now. So when you see our people acting the way they act, behaving the way they're behaving, after you've advocated for them, they sneak behind you and go and collect money or collect bribe from the perpetrators. These are part of the reasons.
Yeah.
Because they have not passed that first stage. They don't have that fundamental. They don't. The basic needs have not been met.
And Whip, Steve, before you go, so in talking about that, right? And there's a very everyday Liberian saying, and you say, "I eat, you eat, we eat."
Yeah.
Right? So that I eat, you eat, we eat is saying that even though I taking a bribe money, I'm not supposed to, but when I give you small something, you get something, I get something, we all okay. So shut up and put up is what they're telling you in a sense.
Yes. Yes. To the point that they even compromise the safety and the security of the country. Somebody will come and give them small money and bring in dangerous things and they allow it to pass. The reason is they don't care about safety at that point because they focus more on their physiological need. In this country, the man or the woman knows at the custom, at the border, they know that the safety and security of this country is paramount to them because they've eaten, they got food home. They know that they will take pay to be able to feed themselves and take care of themselves. So when you come to bribe them, guess what they do? They expose you. Who try to bribe them? Because they care about the security. They
get it. Yep.
So let's move on to the next stage.
Okay.
Love and belonging.
That's the yellow.
Yes, the love and belonging.
Okay.
What do you say about that? How does that relate?
So you remember we talked about having a community and we talked about the four tires on the car.
Yes.
That serves to keep this vehicle running in the direction that you want it to go, in a sense, right?
Yes.
So this love and belonging goes back to those four tires. You need those in your corner. You need those support system. For example, you can work all day, but when you work all day to come home by yourself, not sharing it with anyone, you don't have friends, nobody checking on you, there will not be any meaning to this thing called life. You will live it, but it will just look some kind of gloomy way to you. In this stage, if you don't develop the right connections, you are more likely to become ill. A lot of illness will come if you not get this stage of your life. A lot of, so when I talk about illness, I talk about physical illness, I talk about mental illness, okay? A lot of it can come from this stage when you don't have it. Because in a sense, you're isolated, you by yourself. When you don't form good friendships, that when you're going down bar road, your friend can say, my man, that thing you're doing, it's not, that thing not in order with who you are as a man, or the values I've seen you stand on. So who will stop you now when the trains start going north if you don't develop those friendships, those intimate friendships? You get what I'm saying? If you don't develop those intimate relationships, in a sense, now I'm talking about now romantic, I come to the romantic side of things, right? That you build a home, you build a life with someone. If you don't, those first needs then down there, when they are not met, when you don't feel like you belong, you will always be suspicious of someone who comes to build a life with you because you operating off of trauma lenses. So you will never trust somebody to even be to get too close to them because it is very strange to you to get close to somebody because you've learned in some sense the world is not a safe place. I'm just sitting here by myself. Okay.
Well, to add up and make this a little more relatable as well, as you said, I agree with you. One of the ways we see these things is even your family member, your parents in Liberia, some of them, they're not even loyal to you to ensure your safety and your security because guess what? They have not been able to meet that part of life.
For
They have
themselves.
not been able to meet that part of life for themselves. Their own safety and their need, they've compromised it.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody went and molest somebody's daughter. The person is aware of it. The perpetrator comes and get a small thing. They take it
It goes
and they
back
shut
to
them
those
out.
physiological needs. It take you back
They take it
down.
and they shut them out.
Yes.
So then
But
it
you
becomes a cycle.
and you see why I said those first 4 stages, you will go through many cycles of them at different developmental stages of your life. So maybe next week now when I come, or we'll see. I don't know. He said we're switching times next week.
Yes, we announce it. We announce it after. We announce it the
Okay,
week.
that one might be hard though because those two twins coming, they're home by that time, so my attention may not be as focused. But then again, that's part of it. I am a mother, and if I got to switch to go to up to another time, I can deprive the children of being here. And, so we'll work around it when that time comes.
Mhm.
But what I really outlined, and hopefully I get a chance to come back and do it for all of us to see that when those stages of development, you will go through those first 4 over and over and over and over and over and over um throughout your lifespan, right? But when you get to a certain stage, and this might be, let me just look for, this might be stage 6, right?
Mhm.
Where, oh, hold on, let me look again, I'm sorry. Stage 8, okay? At stage 8, you are able now to function from that orange because you're self-sustained, you're excuse me, you're self-sufficient in so many ways, right? That one stands on its own. It will only stand on its own if those first 4 are met. Because, for example, right, when you get older now, you have reached a place where physically you're not in your youth anymore, right?
Mhm.
Or you have laid those values down, you have worked hard, right? That you know where your next meal will come from, even when you don't stand, you can stand up, you get what I'm saying? You have created a community that got respect for you out of the work you put in there, right? You have made safety a thing for those around you. So guess what? That actualization, when you reach that what you call it, people will make sure those needs are met for you. The community that you cultivate will step up and show up for you then when you reach that place.
Well, I agree with you, and also to point this out, the issue of love and belonging, and when people are supposed to protect you, like in this country, where you fool to tell somebody children or somebody child. the first thing they will tell you is they're calling the cops,
Yep.
or they got to report it.
Yep.
Because they understand that they themselves were protected at some point. The safety was
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed at some
Mm-hmm.
point, whether by family member, by loved one, or by society. So, like you were saying, other people will step in, society will
Mm-hmm.
step in, and somebody
Mm-hmm.
will intervene. You and
Yep.
I, we're responsible. We're mandated reporters. We have to call and say this person reported that they were violated or something happened to them, or abuse or whatever now. But let's move on to the next stage as we
Mm-hmm.
wind down here. We talked about esteem,
Mm-hmm.
where people want respect,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. This other stage, what did you say?
So again, this part of esteem, this whole thing of prestige, feeling of accomplishment. If you were in a community that thrived, that showed you by modeling to you what those different stages, what it looks like,
Mm-hmm.
when you get to the place of that blue now, you will not, your worth or your identification of self will never be on, you see what I can buy, look at my fresh car, look at my fresh clothes, right? Your worth will be more on who you are and what you the work you put in. Okay, your work, so that place that when you reach now, your work will speak for itself. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That stage now, when you reach, you feel accomplished, because you know what, I thank God I had my mom, or I had my dad, or I had this mentor, that mentored me in my youth. Because today now, when I look back, I see that I'm working. I was able to go into a dream career that I like, that I can wake up and do every day. That you know what? When I did it, I got my first big commission. I look back, I say, yeah, my girl, you did it. You get what I'm saying? When you move into the different in career ladders in your career, so to speak, you say, I'm proud of myself. When you raise your children right, so it's not all about working. Oh, when you raise your children right, and you see that your children are able to start blossoming and start finding, planting their own seeds, and moving in their own branches, you say, yeah, I accomplished something. And you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That when you are able to, so I'm trying to touch all areas of where accomplishments or a feeling of accomplishment can come from, right? And you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When you go to work and you don't look at, would the money be enough for me again? But whether you look at my quality of service that I bring here today, it makes me know that I did something right. Almost like we're talking about that patriotism. How you be patriotic to your country when those three basic needs were not there?
Well, I'd have to agree with you, and just to add up to that, you wouldn't have to force people to give you respect.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to speak big jargons, or you wouldn't have to talk about title and all the different things to gain respect. The
You
work
know
you do,
who I am? It will not enter.
exactly. You know your self worth. You don't have to tell people say you know who I am, and you don't have to do that. But on the other hand, also as you were speaking, I was just putting things together. You know, um, you wouldn't have to live in a compromised way, such as
Pride can test you.
yes, you wouldn't have to be looking over your shoulder because or lower your voice, your tone of voice because somebody gave you something before. So you can't talk in public. You can't criticize the person, or you can't speak out the truth, or you can't stand for what is right because you are compromised. But going back to the three different stages that we just
Before
talked
you
about,
before you go there, Steve, I want to say something.
please.
When you're talking about that blue stage, I want to use you and myself for example, right? And I'm using you and myself because I know you to some level and I know me to a whole lot of level, right? We will happen to work in professions that we have chosen, right? We don't work in environment where people stand all our here to watch what we're doing. We are
Right?
left to do what we are expected to do. That when
Exactly.
nobody watching over your head, 1 o'clock in the morning, you can sit down by yourself, you go back, you go do your lay paper work that corresponds to what you were obligated to do. So when
Yes.
you reach that place of esteem needs, you don't need people to boss you around because you can handle things all by your own.
Hmm. Yes, but it comes to the point wherein you've earned it because you've demonstrated
You
that you're
demonstrated it.
responsible,
Yes.
that you're responsible, you're trustworthy, and so forth. But it also comes back to these things don't come that way because you know that you have that confidence in you because you know that you belong somewhere. You know you are loved by people. You have the
Mm-hmm.
support system or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Your security is guaranteed, but
Mm-hmm.
you also know that you pass the stage of I don't have to compromise myself
Yep.
to get extra cash
Mm-hmm.
because my family, my friends, my loved ones, or I will not have to. I'll be kicked out of my house, so I
Mm-hmm.
didn't compromise myself. So you've
Mm-hmm.
crossed those stages. But let's
Yeah.
talk about the last stage here.
Okay.
Self-actualization, which is the last stage.
Okay.
Um, what do you say
So,
about self-actualization after everything we've talked about?
so this is self-actualization is the only stage. You get what I'm saying? That could almost just look at the arrow on the screen, my people. So you see how basic needs, safety, and physiological needs kind of go in together with itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see how belonging, love, needs, and esteem kind of go in with itself. But
Right,
you notice that self-fulfillment or self-actualization needs can stand alone,
right.
in a sense that the work you have done, the foundation you have put in place will lead you to that place where you can stand alone because you are confident in knowing that what I have planted for myself, the resources I have connected in my community where I live, the work I have done on a national level or international level, when you can go to all kind of different level, right, will speak for itself. That I use, so that's that meaning making, right? To make meaning out of what you have done with your time on this, because you get into that age now where you can reverse things. When you're young, you think you can reverse certain age, but when you get into those heydays of your life now, those seasoned years of your life, wisdom looks a little different.
Hmm.
And the way you weigh and the way you reflect on things looks a little different than when you are in your hot-blooded years. So
Hmm.
that stage can stand on its own naturally if you plant the right seeds. Now, if you don't plant those right seeds, some people never get to that fourth level you see right here. They never get there. They can't reach it.
Hmm.
So that stage is only given to those who do the work. How about that?
I agree. I agree 100%. This stage can also be referred to as the reflection of all of these different stages. It's like
Yep.
the B Papa.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get there now, you can say like we're saying, like, bro, I know myself. And I'm not saying when you say you know yourself, that means you restricted to being a woman or a man. You are saying you know your worth, you know your value, you know what you bring to the table. So you don't settle, you don't compromise yourself, and you don't put yourself in a situation that you wouldn't be able to handle. You know, you know how you are doing things. You know what's going on. Nobody got to call in the corner and give you small thing. Nobody got to, or you don't have to misbehave in public to gain relevance
Mm-hmm.
because you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to come in public and act up or do some things that you're not supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
or you don't need to. Let's say, for example, I wouldn't need to join the crew
Yep.
to feel
Yep.
to feel loved or
Mm-hmm.
belonged.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to go to hang out and get drunk or get high, or just to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself. You see why it stands alone? Because at that point, you are able to make independent decisions. You
Yes.
pick your friends. You
Yes.
choose your friends. Your
Yes.
association. You,
Yes.
you are mature enough to understand that, okay, I will be out at this time and I got to go home at this time, either because I have some responsibilities or I'm just in charge of myself.
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
control of myself.
Yep.
So I like the fact that you point out that, we stand alone. But we'll start that for today. Take one or two calls.
Okay.
If anyone wants to contribute, then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
We've gone
I
in one.
can see the comments, so I rely on you to.
Yes. Not too many comments here for now. I'm not sure what's going on.
Mampo, we take out of our time to do this when we want to interact. Me and Moses already know that thing here. So we do it as a form of giving back so that we can interact, we can we can break the stereotypes of this thing called mental health, that we all get comfortable with talking about it and understanding it more. So y'all ask questions, please. Even if it's not for you, it's for somebody. And who they we asking for somebody on Facebook? You can ask for somebody.
Well, we will put the number there for the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
Put a number on there for 5 minutes. And but again, these are things that are realistic. These are things that are realistic, and they are applicable to our daily lives. It doesn't matter where you are. Sometimes you just need to sit and think about some of these things. And again, the issue of mental health and wellness does not mean that you are crazy. There's a whole big component of these things, or of this thing. It's not restricted to being crazy. And not everybody that has mental health issue, has.
I see some questions here, by the way. I will mute myself so that I'm able to see the questions and ask and see. I see some questions, even though it's not written in a form of question, but I will tell you.
Sure. Fred L. Johnson, this Moses boy can lie to my okay, no problem. No problem. I can laugh, Fred. And then we also have
Magnus. You see, Magnus is questioning a sense. He said, if those foundations are not put in place, what can religion do? Or what impact does religion have?
Well, I think, I think this is where I've had problems with some religion and some religious leaders, some of them. Mm-hmm. They substitute reality for spirituality, or vice versa. It doesn't work that way. Let's take, for example, if my head is pounding, your child's head is pounding, don't speak in tongue. Give them medication if it's prescribed by the doctor. You can leave the medication there and start speaking in tongue. It doesn't make any sense. Another thing again, I don't care how much of a spiritual person you are or whatever it is. When you see a job advertisement and it says you will need a high school certificate, or it says you will need to have the work experience for 1 year, and you haven't worked in that field for 1 year. Let's say you haven't had it, you don't have the high school certificate or whatever it is.
That I know my setting you were
speak in tongue however you like. You have not met that requirement. You might not, more likely to not even be considered when you apply. Or take, for example, you go to the church, you see this job, you have the requirements. Somebody that unbeliever, you meet all the requirements of the job. You went to the church, some pastor said the loudest amen will get that job. Or some pastor say, just go and speak and the Lord will bring people in your direction, whatever it is. You don't apply for the job. There is no HR person calling you on the phone to say, oh, we want to offer you the job. That's pure foolishness. It's not going to happen. Go and apply for the job. Simple. Go and do the interview and allow God to do his part, or the spiritual part to kick in now. When you've done all of those physical requirements, you've met them, then come and pray.
But to add to that, Moses, something we must all realize when this person talk about the religious impact on if those needs are not met, right? Mm-hmm. This is me going off on a limb, okay? Now, those who can prove me wrong, you'll come back later and say, yeah, my care, you think you know it, but this is what's different. Most of those religions that are out there, those established religions, okay, including African spirituality, it came from people who in some ways self-actualized. They were up here to the zenith, okay? Mm-hmm. They knew what it was to meet all those needs first before you reach up here. So a lot of those religious artifacts, those religious scriptures, those religious texts that were written by people in years, in stages that they had reached self-actualization, that they were able to reflect, okay? So if, for example, the Bible, everything you need for living is in that Bible. You get what I'm saying? If that's what you ascribe to. Islam, everything you need is in that Quran. And it talks about all the different stages from your physiological needs of feeding that body, of treating it. It said treat that body like a temple. They were telling you feed yourself, give yourself adequate nutrition, give yourself water to drink. So if you look at it from a perspective of just transferring the Bible to these needs, the Bible covers all the needs all the way up to self-actualization. The Quran covers those needs. The Kabbalah, so it covers the surah, or any religious text you can think of. When you look for a from a learning perspective, then you won't compare. Anytime you read a scripture, then you say, well, let me go look at a Maslow hierarchy. Let me see what the thing fits. Something fits on one of those stages. But it came from people who had reached the zenith, who had reached that self-actualization. Then they sat back now when it was written, it was reflective of all those stages you got to pass. So that's how the two should intertwine. So if the bases are not met, then religion failed you.
Right.
Or
Sure.
you're not religion, I'm sorry, I will not call it religion. You're religious educators, those who were given the honor, so to speak, the responsibility to educate you based on your religion. If those needs are not being met, then somebody not doing their work. Yeah, it's time to look for where those needs can be taught to you and you can learn it. So you too can be able to reach that top, that you can reach the top of your ladder too.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll leave it here for today. Let me give the announcements. Then you can give your parting comment.
Okay.
So next week, we are changing the schedule for this program. We'll be on 8 p.m. 9 p.m. Sorry.
Which one, my time or your time?
No. Hold on. Let me double check here.
Work it out.
Hold on. Let me double check because I don't want to call out several times. And it's not. Hold on. Let me
For
double
your
check.
same situation, you can't handle it.
I know, right? Let's start with the East Coast time first. Let's start with the East Coast time. East Coast time on the East Coast, it would be 9 p.m. on the East Coast.
Okay.
On your side, it'll be 7, right?
I think am I on Central because I'm in the middle of America, right? Where's the map?
It'll be 8. It'll be 8 p.m. It'll be 8 p.m. your time because it will be 6 p.m. my time.
Okay.
So next Friday it will be 6 p.m. 6 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. It would be 8 p.m. your time because you're 2 hours ahead of us. The East Coast is 3 hours ahead of us. Yes, the show will be late because my schedule has changed and there are a lot of things that are changing. So sorry, guys. It has to be a little later than regular time. I am very, very sorry. Very, very, very sorry. We have to do this adjustment. If not, then we have to switch the show to Sundays. So y'all can pick and let us know.
Oh, I like that. Choices. Okay.
So what do you think?
Maybe drop it out there, create a little poll or something that they vote on those two availabilities and see what people say.
Yes, or we have to do Sunday
In the evening.
Yes. So, but let's try this Friday on this time, and then we can go from there and see.
Okay.
Somebody said Sunday is more relaxing. Okay. So what do you think? You think we should do Sunday? Because if we do Sunday, then I mean we'll do 2 shows.
That one on you. I'm doing 2 shows. Are you doing 2? You doing 2 shows. I'm doing no 2 shows. I think we should reflect on.
We'll do 2 shows on Sunday, such as we have an interview, and then after the interview, later on in the afternoon. Sometimes it can be hectic, guys. Let me tell you the truth. When you finish talking one time, you don't even know when you're not safe for. Because before we come on here, a lot of work put in place. The preparation, the research. Even when you interview people, you have to go and research who they are. Then when you come and sit and talk for 2 hours again, it's a lot. So let's start with this Friday. Let's see the reception.
Okay.
Friday at least 6, we see the reception from my end. If it's not going well, then we can always ask the public. But let's start this coming Friday, my people are begging you. You're bear with us. They think we got to rest ourselves too. Yeah. So next Friday, we'll put an announcement up. We'll be on 9 p.m. Eastern time instead of 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll give you extra 3 hours. 9 p.m. I know if you have to go chill, you can be chilling somewhere watching the show. That's fine. If it was too much, it's still okay. You can watch it another time. But yes, what do you say? What is your party comment?
I said let's brainstorm on the ideas you have. I will give my disclosure now. My people are people my so if we do change and do the shows around the times that my children are home, y'all bear with me. I will do my best to curtail the noise and to keep them from disrupting the show. But y'all just have to bear with me, okay? That's my disclosure ahead of time. But Moses, as always, I enjoy doing this with you. I enjoy talking to people across span, even if you're that only us talking and you're listening. I still enjoy doing this psychoeducation because that's basically what we're doing. I enjoy that together we're seeing a need to change how we see and view mental health and see that it is just important that all aspects can be talked about. So anytime you call me when my schedule avails, I'm here. I love doing this. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody or bring the conversation up to somebody of something that you learned today. Please don't keep it to yourself. That the only way all of us will climb that ladder and we all will reach the self-actualization.
Thank you so much. Well, it was good being on here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go. Thank you and thank you. Have a blessed weekend.
I want to give special shout out to our guest, Kim. Kim, you always show up and you always represent.
Yes, Kim, thank you. Thank you for being such a strong supporter of us. You're always here.
And everybody else, thank you. I just saying, Kim, we know you, girl.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's have a good night.
Okay.
Happy weekend. Stay out of trouble and bon voyage.
You don't even know my story. You don't even know your story. Oh yeah, you know on the I'll be a loca. So mora. You post a new car on Facebook.